Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Adult Storytime here at the Kenosha Public Library. I'd like to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays as we do our special Christmas time reading of A Christmas Carol. And first, a little bit of history on the writing of the story. Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol is one of his most popular works. When it was initially published in December of 1843, Dickens had hoped the book would sell well, and had hoped those sales would resolve some of his financial problems. But he couldn't have foreseen how completely the story would be embraced by the public, or that it would evolve into a beloved classic. Dickens began to write what would become A Christmas Carol in October of 1843. He was determined to get the book out in time for Christmas that year, giving him a very short time frame to work it. However, the pressing schedule wasn't solely motivated by artistic inspiration. He was also motivated by financial problems. At the time, Dickens' writing career was in a bit of a slump. He had hits like The Old Curiosity Shop, but his current serialized novel, The Life and Adventures of Martin Chuzzlewit, wasn't selling well. His publishers wanted to decrease his pay from £200 to £150 per month, which would have been devastating. Dickens was in debt and had a family to support. Not only was he married with a fifth child on the way, his father was also in financial straits. Now, while money was admittedly a factor in Dickens' writing A Christmas Carol, he also had a message to convey about Victorian society and how it treated its most desperate members. Early in 1843, Dickens had read a parliamentary report about children in the workforce, which contained testimony from young laborers about their long days, low wages, and dangerous working conditions. Having worked in a factory himself as a boy due to his family's financial situation, Dickens always felt a kinship with those who were struggling, particularly children. The parliamentary report inspired him to write a pamphlet called An Appeal to the People of England on Behalf of a Poor Man's Child. But yet a few days later, he changed his mind, noting in a letter on March 10th that he put off the pamphlet because he had other means in mind, which with, quote, 20,000 times the force of this initial approach. Later in 1843, Dickens visited schools for the poor in the slums. They were called ragged schools, in reference to the worn clothes of many of the students, where he encountered children who lived as thieves in order to survive. In October, he traveled to Manchester, England, to give a speech on the importance of education for every class. Soon after this talk, he had the idea for A Christmas Carol, a book that showed the challenges faced by the poor and how more generosity could lessen their burdens. Dickens began writing A Christmas Carol in October and finished the story 6 weeks later. Writing a full story in this manner was new for him, as his other novels had been serialized over months or even years. This method may have helped him write a stronger story. To create Tiny Tim, the sick young boy who's a major inspiration for Scrooge to change his ways, Dickens drew on the lives of two family members, a sickly younger brother who had been known as Tiny Fred, and a nephew, Henry Burnett Jr., who was disabled, and he was aware of the difficulties they faced. Christmas Carol was an immediate success. The debut print run of 6,000 copies, which arrived on December 19th, sold out within the week. The timing was right for a Christmas book to take off, as Christmas trees were being popularized by Prince Albert and Queen Victoria, with Christmas cards soon following. Dickens would write other books and articles at Christmas time in the following years, like The Chimes or The Cricket and the Hearth, but they never reached the success of A Christmas Carol. The book's printing were beautiful, with red cloth binding, gilt-edged pages, and colored illustrations, and they induced a host of last-minute changes that were insisted upon by Dickens. However, this drove up production costs, and despite its success, Dickens made very little money from the publication. Christmas Carol has been adapted countless times. Soon after the book was published, unauthorized stage versions appeared, and sadly, given his financial troubles, Dickens usually didn't make any money from these. As the story had often been filmed, versions have ranged from the silent era to later ones, including a musical version and even one with the Muppets. Many are familiar with A Christmas Carol as Dickens' most famous book because they've seen one of these adaptations. But Dickens also did his own adapting when he read the story in public. His first public reading of A Christmas Carol was done for charity in 1853. But Dickens also gave paid readings. Between 1853 and 1870, he had read the story 127 times at public performances. After hearing a carol reading by Dickens in Boston on Christmas Eve of 1867, a businessman decided to close his factory for Christmas and provide all his workers with a turkey, just like Scrooge. And this was just one of several examples of how these readings helped spread the fame and the message of the story. It's another reason why the name Charles Dickens is forever linked with Christmas and its famous novel, A Christmas Carol. And now, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, an abridged adaptation. Marley was dead. To begin with, there is no doubt whatsoever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge's name was good upon the change for anything he chose to put his hand to. Old Marley was as dead as a doornail. Scrooge knew he was dead? Of course he did. Scrooge and Marley were partners for I don't know how many years. But he was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, was Scrooge. Squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. And once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, on Christmas Eve, old Scrooge sat busy in his counting house, a grim, cheerless place, if there ever was one. Even the sound of carolers singing out in the street could not dispel the gloom. The door of Scrooge's counting house was open, so that he might keep an eye on his clerk, Bob Cratchit, who, in a cold and dismal little cell beyond, sang quietly along with the carolers under his breath while working on his ledgers. 20, 21, 22, dear gentlemen, let nothing you dismay. 23, 26, 9, carry the 2 on Christmas Day. 11, 13, 17, 7, Bob Cratchit! Yes, Mr. Scrooge? Stop that infernal caterwauling! Yes, sir. 9, 15, 17, carry the 1. Of all the impudence, singing that idiotic Christmas carols on my very door. I'll take care of that. Now go on, get away from my door. Go somewhere else and bellow your blasted carols, or I'll call a constable. Sorry, Governor. It's an old custom at Christmas time, you know. Yeah, and I don't want any of your old customs. Take a fellow fools and go away. Christmas. Blech. Right, sir. Well, Merry Christmas anyway, sir. Good riddance. Now, you get that letter from Higgins and Blackthorn, Cratchit, and then I want you to finish posting this ledger, and after that you can pop over to Fothergill's and tell Heath and Fothergill that you've come for the 17 shillings and 6pence he's owed me since Michaelmas, and you tell him I shall have a constable over there if he doesn't pay up at once. But Mr. Fothergill's wife's been very ill, sir. What do I care about his wife? I want my 17 and 6. I just thought it being Christmas time, sir. Christmas. You mention that word once more to me, Bob Cratchit, and so help me up. Excuse me, sir, but your nephew, Mr. Fred, is at the door. Merry Christmas, Uncle. Merry Christmas, Bob. Merry Christmas, Mr. Fred. God save you, Uncle. Bah, humbug. Christmas a humbug, Uncle? Now, I'm sure you don't mean that. I mean just that, exactly that. Merry Christmas. What right have you to be merry? What reason have you? You're poor enough. Well, what right have you to be dismal about Christmas time, Uncle? You're rich enough. Now, Uncle, don't be cross. Well, what else can I be when I live in such a world of fools? What's Christmas time to you but a time for paying bills without money? Merry Christmas. Time for finding yourself a year older and not an hour richer. If I could work my will, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips would be boiled with his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart, he should. Uncle! Now, nephew, keep Christmas in your own way, and let me keep it in mine. Keep it? Well, you don't keep it, Uncle. Well, let me leave it alone, then. What do you want? A Christmas gift, no doubt? I came to wish you a Merry Christmas, Uncle. Merry Christmas. Much good may Merry Christmas do you. Much good it has ever done you. There are many things from which I've derived good, and by which I've not profited materially, I dare say, Uncle. Christmas time among the rest. But I've always thought of Christmas time as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time. And therefore, Uncle, though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe it has done me good, and will do me good. And I say, God bless it. Ha-ha! God bless Christmas! Hurrah! Let me hear another sound out of you, Bob Cratchit, and you'll keep your Christmas by losing your situation. Yes, sir. And as for you, nephew, I wonder you don't go into Parliament. Talking of nonsense. Oh, don't be angry, Uncle. I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Why can't we be friends? Good afternoon. I'm sorry you feel that way. Well, I've tried. A Merry Christmas to you, Uncle. Good afternoon. And a Happy New Year, too. Bah! Humbug. And a Merry Christmas to you, Bob, and the Missus, and to Tiny Tim. Oh, thank you, Mr. Fred. Same to you, sir. Good day, sir. Good day, Bob. Nonsense, twaddle, flummery, talking of Christmas time and not 2 sixpences to jingle together in his trouser pocket. Hey, there, you, Bob Cratchit, come here. What are you doing there by the stove? I'm only putting a bit more coal in the fire, Mr. Scrooge, seeing as it's so cold in here. You put that coal back in the scuttle. A fire indeed. I can tell you, if you use coal at that rate, you and I will soon be parting company, Bob Cratchit. You understand that? There's many a young fellow would like your situation, you know. I'm sorry, sir. My fingers were getting a little stiff with the cold. Well, then, put on your mittens. Now, someone's at the door. Go see who it is. Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. This is the firm of Scrooge and Marley? Yes, sir. Oh, I should like to see the head of the firm, if I may. Oh, very good, sir. Come in, sir. What is it? A gentleman to see you, sir. Eh? Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley? Marley's been dead these 7 years tonight. I'm Scrooge. Well, now, Mr. Scrooge, at this season of the year, it's only fitting that we who are more fortunate should raise a fund to buy some meat and drink and means of warmth for the poor. You may not believe it, sir, but many thousands are now in want of common necessities. And hundreds of thousands are in want of the simplest comforts. Are there no prisons? Well, yes, there are plenty of prisons, sir. And the workhouses, they're still in operation, I trust. I wish I could say they are not, but they are, sir. The treadmill and the poor law are in full vigor then? Both very busy, sir. Ah, I'm glad to hear that. I was afraid from what you said that something had occurred to stop them in their useful course. No, sir. All these institutions you mention are flourishing, but it's nevertheless true that some additional provisioning for the poor and destitute must be made. Bah! A few of us upon the exchange are endeavoring to raise such a fund, you see. And what shall I put you down for? Nothing. Oh, I see. You wish to remain anonymous. I wish to be left alone. I don't make merry myself at Christmas time, and I can't afford to help make a lot of idle people merry. I help to support the establishments that care for the poor. They cost enough. Let those who are badly off go there. Many can't go there, sir, and many would rather die. Well, then, my advice to them is to do so and decrease the surplus population. Besides, I've only your word for it that this is so. It's the truth, Mr. Scrooge. Well, so be it then. It's not my business. It's enough for a man to understand his own business and not interfere with other people's. Mine occupies me constantly. Good afternoon, sir. I quite understand, Mr. Scrooge. Good afternoon. Cratchit, show this gentleman out. Yes, sir. This way, sir, please. Sir, I couldn't help overhearing. I should like to contribute a few tuppence. Cratchit! Yes, sir. It isn't much, but it's all I can afford. But there are others in worse situations than I. You're a generous fellow. I wish I might say the same of your employer. Cratchit! Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. Cratchit! Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Yes, sir. Close the door. Yes, sir. 24, 31, 1 carry the 3, a new scarlet tipper for Tiny Tim, a comb for Martha, 33, 3 and carry 3, a hair ribbon for Belinda, 4, 7, 12, 15. Cratchit! Yes, sir. It's too late to have you go to Fothergill's. He'll be closed up for Christmas like these other fools. We might as well close up the place now. Yes, sir. It is getting a little dark. Hard to see the figures. I suppose you want the entire day off tomorrow? If it's quite convenient, sir. It's not convenient, and it's not fair either. But I suppose I can't do anything about it. If I was to stop half a crown of your wages, you'd think yourself very ill-used, I'll be bound. Well, sir, Yes, but you don't think me ill-used when I pay a day's wages for no work. It's only once a year, sir. Once a year. Once a year, indeed. A fine excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. But I suppose there's no good talking. You must have the whole day. Well, see that you're here all the earlier the next morning. You understand? Oh, I will, sir. I will indeed. Good night, sir, and Merry Christmas. Bah! Merry Christmas! Bah! The office was closed in a twinkling, and Bob Cratchit, with the long ends of his white comforter dangling below his waist, for he boasted no greatcoat, went down a slide on Cornhill 25 times in honor of it being Christmas Eve, and then ran down home to Camden Town as hard as he could pelt to play with his family at Blind Man's Bluff. Scrooge, on the other hand, took his melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tavern, and having read all the newspapers and spent the rest of the evening with his banker's book, went to his dismal house. Darkness is cheap, and Scrooge liked it. The yard was so dark that even Scrooge, who knew its every stone, had to grope with his hands through the fog and the frost to find the door. Scrooge walked through his rooms to see that all was right. Sitting room, bedroom, lumber room, all as they should be. He closed the door. He locked himself in. He double locked himself in, and took off his cravat, put on his dressing gown and slippers, and his nightcap, and as the clock struck 10, sat down before the fire to take his gruel. What? Molly? Molly? Molly! I could have sworn I saw... Oh, bah! Humbug! Molly's been dead these 7 years. Humbug! Oh, humbug! What I need is a good night's... What? What's that? A sound from downstairs? Someone's in the place. But the door's locked. And double locked. Oh, heavy footsteps coming up the stairs, and the sound of chains being dragged behind. It's coming. Something is coming closer. Outside my door. Oh, bah! I won't believe it. It's humbug still. Ebenezer Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge. Oh, the door's opening. What? Molly! Oh no! What do you want of me? I want much of you, Ebenezer. What are you? Ask me who I was. You're particular to a shade, aren't you? Or perhaps I should say for a shade. All right then. Who were you? In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley. Jacob Marley? But you're dead. You died 7 years ago. 7 years ago, this very night. You're a ghost then? What's wrong, Ebenezer? Don't you believe in me? I do not. Do you doubt your own senses, Ebenezer? Yes, because a little thing affects them. A slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheats. You may be an undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard, a crumb of cheese, a fragment of underdone potato. Oh, there may be more of gravy than of grave of you, whatever you are. Yeah, bah, humbug, I tell you. Humbug! Oh, excuse me. I do believe you. You are a ghost, Jacob. You are. Thank you. But why do you walk the earth, Jacob? Why do you come to me?
It is required of every man that spirit within him should walk abroad amongst his fellow men, and travel far and wide. And if that spirit goes not forth in life, it is condemned to do so after death. It must wander through the world and witness what it cannot share, but might have shared on earth, and turned to happiness. But tell me, Jacob, what is that chain you wear around you? I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link, and yard by yard, and by my own free will. Is its pattern strange to you, Ebenezer?
Cash boxes, keys, and padlocks, ledgers, and purses.
Your chain was as heavy and as long as this 7 years ago. You have labored on it since, Ebenezer.
Oh, Jacob, speak comfort to me.
Comfort? I have none to give. I cannot rest. I cannot stay. I cannot linger. Weary journeys lie before me.
You travel fast?
Yes, Ebenezer, on the wings of the wind.
Oh, 7 years dead and traveling all that time?
7 years! 7 years of remorse, Ebenezer. Do you not know the space of regret can make amends for one's life's opportunities missed?
But you were always a good man of business, Jacob.
Business? Mankind was my business. Charity, mercy, benevolence, they were my business. The dealings of my trade were but a drop of water in the comprehensive ocean of my business.
Oh, Jacob, don't take on so now.
Listen to me, Ebenezer.
I'm listening to you, Jacob. Go on now, speak to me, but don't be so flowery.
I'm here to warn you that you have a chance and hope of escaping my fate. Do you hear me, Ebenezer?
Yes, you were always a good friend to me, Jacob, thank you. But go on. How shall I escape? Oh, I'm afraid, Jacob.
You will be haunted by 3 spirits.
Is that the only chance and hope, Jacob?
It is your only chance and hope.
Well, then, I think I'd rather not.
Without their visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tomorrow, the second the next night, the third the next, each when the bell tolls 1.
Couldn't I take 'em all at once and have it over, Jacob?
Ebenezer, look that for your own sake you remember what has passed between us. And remember, when the bell tolls 1, look for the first spirit. Goodbye, Ebenezer.
Marley! Jacob Marley! The bell tolled 1, and Scrooge awoke. He was lying on his bed, fully dressed. Suddenly, the curtains of his bed were drawn aside, and Scrooge found himself face to face with an unearthly visitor that drew them, as close as I am to you now, and I am standing in spirit at your elbow. It was a strange figure, like a child, yet not so like a child as like an old man, diminished to a child's proportions. Its hair, which hung about its neck and down its back, was white as with age, yet the face had not a wrinkle in it, and the tenderest bloom was on the skin. The arms were long and muscular, as if its hold were of uncommon strength. Ebenezer Scrooge. Who said that? Ebenezer Scrooge, I have come for you. Oh, are you the spirit, sir, whose coming was foretold to me? I am that spirit. Who and what are you? I am the ghost of Christmas past. Long past? No, your past. What do you want of me? What brings you here to haunt me? Your welfare, Ebenezer Scrooge. Rise and walk with me. Oh, no, not out the window. I can't do that. I'll fall down. I'm not a spirit, I'm a mortal, and I'll fall. Bear but a touch of my hand upon your heart, and you shall be upheld in more than this. Come, follow me on the wind. Where are we? What's become of the city?
There's snow upon the ground. Where are we? They are but shadows of the things that have been. They have no consciousness of us. Do you recognize this countryside? Oh, oh, oh yes, I recognize every inch of it, every rock, every tree. And that bleak building over there? Oh, that building. I was a boy there. I went to school in that horrible place. Do you recollect the path? I could walk it blindfolded. Strange that you should forget it for so many years. Come, let us go closer. Look through the window into that cold, barren room. What do you see, Ebenezer Scrooge? I see a boy, a solitary child, neglected by his family, alone. Yes, yes, I see. I know that boy. Oh, I was so lonely. Poor boy. Your lip is trembling. And what is that upon your cheek? It's nothing. Nothing at all. I just wish... Ah, well, it's too late now. What's the matter? Nothing. Nothing. These waifs came to my door singing Christmas carols last night, and there was a boy like that among them. Poor, pale, thin boy in a ragged coat. I should have liked to have given him something. That's all. Is that all? Now, Ebenezer Scrooge, let us see another Christmas. Follow. Scrooge's former self grew larger at the words, and the schoolroom became a little darker and more dirty. As the boy walked up and down despairingly, Scrooge felt a pang in his heart and looked anxiously towards the open door. Ebenezer! Ebenezer, dear brother! Fan, I have come to bring you home, dear brother. Home, home, home! Home, little Fan? Home, home forever and ever. Oh, Father is so much kinder than he used to be, and the home is like heaven. He spoke to me so gently one dear night that I was not afraid to ask him once more that he might come home. And he said, yes, yes, you should, and sent me in a coach to bring you. He's got you a situation in London, so you're never to return to this awful place again. Oh, Ebenezer, we shall have the merriest Christmas in all the world. Oh, you are quite the woman, little Fan. Come on, come on. Always a delicate creature whose breath might have withered, but she had a great heart. Yes, she had. I will not gainsay it, Spirit, God forbid. She died a married woman and had, I think, children. One child. True, your nephew. Yes. There's more for you to see. Come. A celebration, people dancing and clapping to the tune of a fiddle. Do you know this place, Ebenezer Scrooge? Know it? Know it? Oh, why, this is the old warehouse where I was apprenticed. It's Christmas Eve, my dears. Christmas, do you hear? Now that fellow with the fiddle ain't playing for his own entertainment, you know. All to the dance floor now. Listen, why, it's my old master, bless his heart. Old Mr. Fezziwig. My master alive again and hosting one of his Christmas parties. Listen to him. Hold your hands to your partner, bow and face away, corkscrew, thread the needle, back to your places. And there's Dick Wilkins. Oh, poor Dick, dear, 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 dear. Yes, and look, there's Mrs. Fezziwig herself, looking younger than any of the other ladies. And the table's all loaded with roast and cider and mince pie and beer. Oh, what a jolly time we used to have. That carefree young man with the light heart and the joyous smile? Do you recognize him? Oh, yes, yes, merciful heaven. Oh, how happy I was then. A small matter for old Fezziwig to make these silly folks so full of gratitude. Small matter? Small indeed. Is it? He has spent only a few pounds of your mortal money. Is that so much that he deserves praise? Bah! It's not that. It's not that, Spirit. Old Fezziwig had the power to make us happy or unhappy, to make our service light or heavy. His power lay in the words and looks and in things so tiny that it's impossible to count them up. The happiness he gave was as great as if it cost a fortune. What's the matter? Nothing. Nothing at all, Spirit. Something, I think. No, no. Speak. Well, only, it's just that I should like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk, Bob Cratchit. That's all. My time grows short, and we have yet another journey to make. Where now? Come, I will show you. This is our penultimate visit to the past, here in this little room with a fair young girl by your side. Do you recognize yourself, Ebenezer? Oh, no. No, spare me this. You're older now, a man in the prime of his life. Your face has begun to wear the signs of care and avarice. Your eyes are greedy, the eager, restless eyes of a miser. No, please. She knows it too, the girl by your side. There are tears in her eyes. It matters little, Ebenezer, to you, very little. I know that. Belle, have I changed toward you? When we were first engaged, we were both poor. Was it better then? Better to be poor? Better at least to be happy? You're changed. You were another man then. I was a boy. You blame me because I've grown wiser? Have I ever tried to break our engagement? In words? No, never. In what then? In a changed nature, in an altered spirit, in everything that made my love of any value in your sight. So I release you from your promise. Belle. Oh, at first it may cause you pain to lose me, a very brief pain, but soon it will be dim, like a half-remembered dream, an unprofitable dream, and you will be glad to be awake from such a dream. May you be happy in the life you have chosen, Ebenezer. I release you with a full heart for the love of him that you once were. It's enough. Show me no more. Take me home. I told you that these were the shadows of the things that have been, of they that they were. Do not blame me. No more. One shadow more. Come. Do you see this man, Ebenezer Scrooge? This man might have been you, and the woman beside him, your wife. Belle. And that girl may have been your daughter. She might have called you father. She might have been the springtime in the haggard winter of your life. Spirit, let me go. Show me no more. Listen now while they speak. Belle, I saw an old friend of yours today. Who was it? Guess. How can I? Oh, I know. Mr. Scrooge. Mr. Scrooge it was. I passed his office window, and as it wasn't shuttered and there was a candle inside, I couldn't help seeing him. His partner Marley lies at the point of death, I hear, and there Scrooge sat, all alone. Quite alone in the world, I do believe. Spirit, I can't bear any more. Leave me, haunt me no more. Take me back. Scrooge felt himself pulled away, and everything faded to black. With the stroke of one, Scrooge awakened suddenly and sat bolt upright in his own bed. He remembered the words of Marley's ghost and wondered from which direction the second spectre would appear. At that moment, nothing between a baby and a rhinoceros would have astonished him. Now, being prepared for almost anything, he was not by any means prepared for nothing, and consequently, when no shape appeared, he was taken with a violent fit of trembling. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a quarter of an hour went by, yet nothing came. Then, as he sat in his bed, he became aware, gradually, of a great blaze of ruddy light. It seemed to shine upon him from an adjoining room. He got up softly and shuffled in his slippers to the door. It was his own sitting room, no doubt about that, but it had undergone a surprising transformation. The walls and ceiling were hung with living green that it looked a perfect grove, from every part of which bright gleaming berries glistened. And such a mighty blaze went roaring up the chimney as had never been known in Scrooge's time, or for many and many a winter season gone. Heaped upon the floor to form a kind of a throne, were turkeys, geese, game, poultry, great joints of meat,
suckling pigs, long wreaths of sausages, mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red-hot chestnuts, and seething bowls of punch that made the chamber dim with their delicious steam. In easy state upon the couch there sat a jolly giant, glorious to see, who bore a torch, and shaped not unlike Plenty's horn, and held it up, high up, to shine a light upon Scrooge as he came peeping around the door.
Come in, Ebenezer Scrooge, and know me better man. You, I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me. You have never seen the likes of me before. You're different from the other spirits. You're tall, almost a giant, and that torch you carry. Its light falls into the houses of rich and poor alike. Oh, spirit, take me where you will. Last night I went against my will and learned a lesson which is working now. If you have anything to teach me, let me profit by it. Touch my robe, Ebenezer Scrooge. Touch my robe, and let us begin. Where have you brought me, spirit? A humble dwelling on a humble street. It's miserable enough, yet there is happiness here. Who are these people? Who's that woman and the children? These are the family of your clerk, Bob Cratchit. Oh, see his wife dressed in her twice-turned gown, but in ribbons, laying the table for their Christmas dinner. And there, assisting there, is her daughter Belinda, and the young man with the fork and the stuffing. That's Master Peter Cratchit. And running around the table, the two little Cratchits. Ah, and now coming in the door is the eldest daughter, Martha. Listen, Scrooge. Someone's at the door. Oh, that must be Martha. Children, children. Why, bless your heart alive, my dear. Merry Christmas to you, Martha. Merry Christmas, Mother. Merry Christmas. How late you are, my dear. Oh, we had a deal of work to finish up last night, and we had to clear away this morning. Well, never mind, as long as you're here now. Sit down before the fire, my dear, and have a warm, Lord bless you. Where's Father? Oh, he's been to church with Tiny Tim. They'll be along directly. How is Tiny Tim, Mother? Any better at all? Sometimes I think he is. And sometimes I think, if anything should happen to Tiny Tim. Mother, you mustn't even think of such a thing. Look, here they come. Father and Tiny Tim at the door. Here they are. There's Tiny Tim. Merry Christmas, everybody. Martha, welcome, my dear. Merry Christmas, Father and Tim. Merry Christmas, Mother. Oh, Tim, you darling. Let me take your coat off, Tim. Oh, Father, I'm so glad to be home. And we're so glad to have you, Martha. And how did little Tim behave in church, Bob? Oh, as good as gold and better. I like church, Mother. Oh, they sang the nicest songs. I hope people saw me there. Saw you there? And why, Tim? Well, don't you see? Because I'm lame. And if they saw my crutch, it might be pleasant to them to remember upon Christmas Day who it was they made lame beggars walk and blind men see. Oh, bless you, my son. Are we ready to eat, Mother? Yes, children, we're all ready. Now, come, take your places now, and wait your turn. There's plenty of goose, stuffing, dressing, and plum pudding for all of you. Martha, you take care of Tiny Tim. Yes, Mother. And you see he eats plenty. He must get strong and well. Now, sit down, everyone. And now, my dears, shall we say grace? Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will live. I see a vacant seat in a poor chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved. Oh, no, kind spirit. Say he'll be spared. Say he'll live. If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die. But what then? If he be like to die, hadn't he do it and decrease the surplus population? Oh. Amen. And now, my dears, with such a dinner, a toast. A Merry Christmas to all, and God bless. God bless us, every one. Ha ha! Well said, Tim. And now to Mr. Scrooge. Oh, I give you a toast to Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast. The founder of the feast, indeed. Who pays you all of 15 shillings a week. Oh, I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon, and I'd hope he'd have a good appetite for it. My dear, the children.
Christmas Day.
Well, it should be Christmas Day, I assume, on which one drinks the health of such an odious, stingy, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. No, you know he is, Robert. Nobody knows it better than you, poor fellow.
My dear, Christmas Day.
All right. I'll drink his health for your sake and the day's, but not for his. Long life to him, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. He'll be very merry and very happy, I have no doubt.
And I say, God bless him to you, Mother, and everyone. There was nothing of high mark in all this. They were not a handsome family, these Cratchits. They were not well dressed. Their shoes are far from being waterproof. Their clothes were scanty, and they had known very likely the inside of a pawnbroker's. But they were happy, grateful, pleased with one another, and contented with the time. And when at last they faded, Scrooge had his eye upon them, and especially on Tiny Tim, until the last. Many calls Scrooge made that night with the ghost of Christmas present. Down among the miners they went, who labor in the bowels of the earth, and out to sea among the sailors at their watch, dark, ghostly figures in their several stations, all keeping Christmas as merrily as they knew how. Finally,
What? Where are we now? Why, it's a party for the friends of your... Oh, of course, you've never bothered to visit this house, have you? But I dare say you know that laugh.
My nephew Fred. Grates on the nerves, that laugh.
Nonsense. I know of no man busting a laugh more than your nephew. Now, attend.
And he actually said that Christmas was a humbug, as I live and breathe, and he believed it too. Well, more shame on him, my dear husband. Oh, he's a comical old fellow, that's the truth, and not so pleasant as he might be. However, his offences carry their own punishment, and I have nothing to say against him. Oh, I'm sure he's very rich, Fred. At least you always tell me so. Well, what of that, my dear? His wealth is no use to him. He doesn't do any good with it. He don't make himself comfortable with it. Oh, and it's highly doubtful he'll ever benefit us with it. Well, I have no patience with him. I have. I feel sorry for him. My dear mother, his late sister, loved him so that for her sake I couldn't be angry with him if I tried. And I won't hear a word against him from anyone else, even though I'm sure his ill manners have brought us much merriment. And therefore, as it would be ungrateful of us not to drink his health, I raise a glass of mulled wine and I give you Uncle Scrooge. Well, Uncle Scrooge, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to the old man. He wouldn't take it from me, but he may have it nevertheless.
Well, I never realized. Come along, Scrooge. Oh, must we? We must.
The scene passed away, and Scrooge and the spirit were once again upon their travels. Much they saw and far they went, and many places they visited, but always with a happy end. The spirits stood behind sick beds, and they were cheerful. On foreign lands, and they were close at home. By poverty, it was rich. In almshouses, hospitals, and jails, where vain man in his little brief authority had not made fast the door and barred the spirit out, the spirit left his blessing. It was a long night, if it were only a night. And it was strange, too, that while Scrooge remained unaltered in his outward form, the ghost grew older, clearly older.
My life upon this globe is very brief. It ends tonight. Tonight? We go on tonight at midnight.
We? At this, the spirit looked pointedly down at his feet. To Scrooge's horror, from the foldings of the spirit's robe, two pairs of small, emaciated arms were crawling out from underneath. They belonged to two children, a boy and a girl. Wretched, abject, frightful, hideous, miserable. They knelt down at the spirit's feet and clung upon the outside of its garment. Where graceful youth should have filled their features out and touched them with the freshest tints, a stale and shriveled hand like that of age had pinched and twisted them and pulled them into shreds. Where angels might have sat enthroned, devils lurked and glared out menacingly. They stared at Scrooge with expressions meager, ragged, scowling, wolfish, humbled. Scrooge stared back, appalled.
Spirit, are they yours? They are man's, and they cling to me, appealing from their fathers. The boy is ignorance, the girl is want. But beware them both, in all their degree, but most of all beware the boy. For on his brow I see that which is doom, unless the writing be erased. Have they no refuge, no resource? Are there no prisons, no workhouses? My own words. Hark, it is the end. The hour has come. Oh no, 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 not yet. There are still more things I wish to learn. These you will learn from another spirit. Still another spirit, Japanese. Scrooge looked about him for the ghost that had vanished and found himself once more in his bed, still in his dressing gown, with his nightcap on his head. He heard the clock strike, and then he remembered the prediction of old Jacob Marley, and lifting up his eyes, beheld the third spirit, a solemn phantom, shrouded in black, draped and hooded, coming towards him slowly and silently, like a mist along the ground. Ah, I know you. You are the ghost of Christmas yet to come. You'll show me shadows of the things that have yet not happened, but will happen in the time before us. Well, answer me, spirit. Answer me. Will you not speak? Ghost of the future, I fear you more than any spectre I have seen, but I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to live to be a better man from what I was, lead on. Lead on. The night's waning fast and time's precious. Let us away. Spirit, why have you brought me here again? Here to Bob Cratchit's home? But it's not the same. Why is it so quiet? So very quiet here. Mother, please. Oh, Martha, my son, my little son, Tiny Tim. I loved him so. Oh, Mother, dear, you mustn't. It's almost time for Father to be home. Please don't let him see you crying. Yeah. Yes, Martha. He's late tonight. He walks slower than he used to, and yet I've known him to walk very fast indeed with Tiny Tim on his shoulder. So have I, Mother. But he was very light to carry, and his father loved him so that it was no trouble at all. I know. Oh, I see Father coming to the door. Here he is. Bob. Good evening, my dear. You're late, Bob. Yes, I'm sorry, my dear. I went to the churchyard today. Oh, I wish you could have gone with me. It would have done your heart good to see how sweet and green a place it is. But you'll see it often. I promised him. Yes, I promised Tiny Tim we'd walk there on a Sunday. It's God's will, Bob. I'm trying to understand it, my dear. My son, my little son, Tiny Tim, and I loved him so. Oh, that's cruel, Spirit, cruel. Oh, Spirit, can't you give me one ray of hope that I might change all that Tiny Tim may live? Oh, lead on, Spirit. Where are you taking me now? Here, on a common street, Spirit? What is there for me to learn here? Who are these men? No, I don't know much about it either way. I only know he's dead. When did he die? Last night, I believe. It's likely to be a very cheap funeral, for upon my life, I didn't know anybody to go to it. Well, suppose we make up a party and volunteer. Oh, I don't mind going if lunch is provided. When I come to think of it, I bet I was his best friend. What? Well, we used to nod to each other when we met in the street. Spirit, tell me, who is this man that died? Is there no one to mourn the poor creature? No one to follow him to his grave? Perhaps I'll give him a green grave at least, like poor Tiny Tim. Carry me onward, Spirit. Where are we now? Merciful heavens, a churchyard, overrun by grass and weeds and choked up with too much burying. A desolate, lonely, crumbling gravestone. Oh, Spirit, before I draw near to that gravestone, answer me one question. Are these shadows of things that will be, or are they shadows of things that may be only? Will you not speak to me, Spirit? What is that grave to which you point? There's writing upon the stone. The name on the stone is Ebenezer Scrooge. Oh, Ebenezer Scrooge? No, no, Spirit, no, hear me. I am not the man I was. Why show me this if I am past all hope? Tell me that I can change these dreadful shadows that you have shown me by an altered life. I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. I will live in the past, present, and the future. I will not shut out the lessons they teach. Tell me, Spirit, tell me that I can sponge away the writing on that stone, Spirit. I beg you, Spirit, I beg you. Spirit, I promise on my knees. I promise. What's this? It's my own bedpost. I'm home, in my own bed, in my own room. But what's that light behind the window curtains? I'm almost afraid to part them. Could it be? Oh, the sun shining. It's clear, it's bright, no clouds. What a beautiful day. Oh, glorious, glorious. Hey, boy down on the street there. Boy. Yes, sir? What's today? What's that, sir? What's it today, my fine fellow? Today? Why, it's Christmas Day. Christmas Day, that I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night. All in one night, heaven be praised. How's that, sir? Listen, my lad, do you know the poulterer in the next street? I should say I do. An intelligent boy, a remarkable boy. Tell me, do you know if they sold the prize turkey that was hanging in the window? The one as big as me? What a delightful boy. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Yes, my buck. It's hanging right there now, sir. Oh, that's wonderful. Go round, will you, and tell them to sell to Bob Cratchit and his family on Broad Street, Camden Town. And mind you, they're not to know who paid for it. Now go along. Hurry, my lad. Here, wait a minute. Here's half a crown for your trouble. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And a Merry Christmas, sir. And a Merry Christmas to you, my boy. I don't know what to do. I'm as light as a feather. I'm as happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to everybody. And a Happy New Year to all the world. Woo! Scrooge dressed himself in all his best and at last got out into the streets. He had not gone far when, "My dear sir, how do you do?" I beg your pardon? You, sir, are you the gentleman that came to my office yesterday in regard to that charity? Yes, sir. A Merry Christmas to you. Yes, sir. Allow me to ask your pardon, sir, and will you have the goodness to accept? Well, I prefer to whisper this. What? Why, Lord bless me, my dear Mr. Scrooge. Are you serious? If you please, and not a farthing less. A great many back payments are included in it, I assure you. Will you do me that favor? My dear sir, I don't know what to say to such munificence. Oh, don't say anything, please. Come and see me. Will you come and see me? I will indeed. Much obliged to you. I thank you 50 times. Bless you, and Merry Christmas. Scrooge went to church and walked about the streets and watched people hurrying to and fro and patted children on the head and questioned beggars and found that everything could yield him pleasure. In the afternoon, he turned his steps towards his nephew Fred's house. He passed the door a dozen times before he had the courage to finally go up and knock. The door opened. Yes? Hello, Fred. Why, bless my soul, who's that? It is I, your Uncle Scrooge. I have come to dinner. Will you let me in, Fred? Let him in? It was a mercy he didn't shake his arm off. Scrooge was at home in his nephew's home in 5 minutes. Wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful unanimity, wonderful happiness. Next morning, Scrooge was early at his office. Oh, he was early there. He went early for a reason. If only he could be there first to catch Bob Cratchit coming late. That was the thing he had set his heart upon. And he did it. Yes, he did. The clock struck 9. No Bob. A quarter past. No Bob. Scrooge sat with his door wide open that he might see him come in. At last he came. His hat was off before he opened the door, his comforter too.
He was on a stool in a jiffy, driving away with his pen as if he were trying to overcome 9 o'clock. 8 and 15 and 21, 6, and carry the 1, 24, and carry the 2, 31, 8 and 9. Hello, you Cratchit. Yes, sir. Step this way, if you please. Cratchit, what do you mean by coming in at this time of day? I'm very sorry, sir. I am behind my time. You are? Yes. Yes, I think you are. Fully 18 and a half behind your time, sir. It's only once a year, Mrs. Scrooge. It shall not be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir. I'll tell you what, my friend, I am not going to stand this sort of thing any longer. And therefore, Bob Cratchit, I'm about to raise your salary. Mr. Scrooge, are you quite yourself, sir? No, thank heaven I'm not quite myself. Merry Christmas, Bob. Merry Christmas, my good fellow. A merrier Christmas than I've given you in many a year. I shall raise your salary, and we will see what we can do for Tiny Tim and the rest of your family, eh? We'll discuss it this very afternoon at a Christmas bowl of smoking bishop. Now, Bob, make up the fires and buy another coal scuttle before you dot another I, Bob Cratchit. Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew, or any other good old city, town, or borough in the good old world. Some people laughed to see the alteration in him, but he let them laugh, and little heeded them. His own heart laughed, and that was quite enough for him. He had no further dealings with spirits, but lived upon the total abstinence principle. Ever afterwards, and it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well, if any alive possessed the knowledge. And may that truly be said of us, of all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us, everyone. The end. And thank you for joining us here today for our reading of A Christmas Carol in our grown-up story time. We invite you to join us again next month, once again, for our next story time. Be sure to check our calendar for date and time. And thank you all for joining us here today. And goodbye from the Kenosha Public Library.